So I just want to talk about some ideas that I've had. I was thinking about the LFO. I'm actually going to remember that name because it looks like UFO. So if I think UFO and then change the U into an L, that's how I remember the name. But yeah, UFO stories are basically stories where people just make up shit. Or maybe a filmmaker makes a couple of images where they look like some sort of alien spaceship is there, and then they pass that information on to someone else. That other person sees it, hears it, believes it, thinks that it's real, and then they pass it on to someone else. And the next thing you know, you've got something that's turned into something completely different. I felt like this is exactly what Ali Carter was doing. She's saying some stuff that's easily, obviously fabricated and lied, or it's like she couldn't put the sentence together. And I want to say there was pigs. What was I saying again? Yeah, there was pigs. There was pigs. Like that. That's how bad the fucking lie was. Like if I was to mimic her, I would just, I would just have to. I would have to make sure that I'm saying rumours that I have not actually figured out what I'm going to say yet. And then I just have to make a video where I look like I have no clue what I'm about to say next. And then I'm just kind of like making up in my head, how should I say it? What should I say? And then you say half the sentence and then you say, should I really say this? I mean, it's obviously not true. I mean, that to me is what I was listening to when I was watching that Ali Carter video that I saw yesterday about her talking about there being pigs at some sort of Playboy mansion party, and the video was titled, this is what insider gives, secrets about it, about this part, about Playboy, about something, an event in the Playboy mansion or something. I'm just like, gives no evidence of what's going on. Like, if does she know even the layout of the house other than what you see on TV? Does she actually know can she give any details about this house that is factual? And I really don't. I don't know. I'm not saying that she's not been in there. I'm sure they've had loads of parties, so maybe they've invited loads of people in this. So I'm not saying she's not been in the house. But yeah, I'm just... the whole thing to me just looked like obvious lies, and yet someone was kind of analysing it, but only analysing it from the perspective that maybe she's telling the truth. And it's like the possibility that, this is unbelievable. But we know that it must be true because this is what goes on, and it's just like, no, sounds unbelievable, so maybe it is unbelievable. Why are you not looking at both sides of the story or both sides of the angle? And I think this is kind of what happened with the alien stuff. I'm not saying about orbs because I've seen orbs, but I don't link them to aliens. I link orbs to ghosts. I've seen orbs. I used to do a lot of ghost hunting when I was a child, and I don't know what orbs are. But I definitely have seen them. It just looks like a white bubble that kind of floats around, and I don't know what they are. But to suggest that they are harmful, or that they are aliens, or that it's proof of some sort of alien spaceship that looks like a ball of light, I mean, I don't know what the government were doing in the sense of making reports that kind of made out that, yes, we do know that this aerial phenomenon is real and it doesn't pose a threat, or it might pose a threat, or we don't know because we haven't done. I mean, by saying things like this, you are actually just egging into people's beliefs that this is all real, and then other people who believe this is all real just take these things and just use it as evidence that they're covering up. It is like having a nanny that, say you have like 100 kids and you're busy working, you don't have time to raise the kids, and then you put a nanny in charge or a couple of nannies in charge, and some of the nannies start telling your kids fairy tales about Santa being real and lots of other stuff, and then you can fire that nanny because you believe that they're leading your people in the wrong direction, but then later they can actually say that, oh, I was fired because it's a cover-up, I was fired by a group of people that didn't want to make it look like it was another group of people, and therefore it's a conspiracy about there being organizations that are done to silence me, to prevent me from telling the kids the truth, when really they were just lying and or saying things that aren't backed up with truth, or things that aren't likely to be true. And the problem comes, though, is that if you have 100 kids and their nanny has been telling them all sorts of nonsense, some of these kids might actually believe the nanny. They might actually side with their nanny. They might actually say, all right, let's set up court hearings to try and work out what our parents are actually doing. and that's kind of how I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it as like just the world is just a whole bunch of kids, that I do not want because there's way too many of them, and a lot of the nannies who are looking after the kids are just telling lies and making shit up and taking things that might be fabricated or completely false, and then looking at other people who have seen this, believed it, and then they're kind of using this as evidence that this must be the truth or must be real, and then they start thinking, well, how is this being hid, and why are people not covering it? And then they start forming conspiracy theories about governments that don't, government organizations that don't exist, or maybe they do. I mean, if there's lot of belief in the government, because the government is a whole bunch of people, some have good beliefs, some have wrong beliefs, but if people in the government have wrong beliefs, they might start funding projects that they shouldn't be funding because they themselves have suspicions that there is these things are real. And if there's so many people, and say if you have 100 kids and the nanny's saying lies, and a couple of the kids actually start believing the lies, and then they say, I'm going to work in the government to try and open up these organizations to try and work out what's going on. This is basically what's happening, and I feel like just the whole world is just going out of control, and you've got all the liars on YouTube now making lots of lying allegations, thinking that it's the truth and promoting it as the truth and saying that it's the truth because of all this and that and the other reasons, when really they're just looking at one side of the story and not open to all sides. And this is all it is, and it's wasting a huge amount of taxpayers' money. But then again, if it's being all funded by the people who think that this is real, then I guess this is why it's happening. But yes, I don't really, I do know what to do, and you need to punish people for believing lies, and therefore sometimes creating lies that's designed to cause mental illness or depression in people so that they later commit suicide. There are a ton of videos where they take lots of horrific stories about child abuse and stuff, and I think videos like this are bad because they're damaging to the mind. But then if you hate the people, if you're trying to reduce the population, having your mind damaged and then going on to commit suicide might not actually be the baddest of options if the whole world is just completely out of control and just that's how I feel like the world is just out of control, and everyone's just wanting to take their own views, and not everyone is right, and people are not seeing it from that perspective. They're saying, I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm going to back up my belief with anything I can find that supports my belief. And that's a very wrong way of looking at things. But if that's how you want to look at things, then I hope you do find the Bible, and I hope you do find the wrong direction, because that is my only solution for how to solve the problem. But yes, I have been thinking about problems. There are a lot of people that might make allegations about child abuse and child rape and stuff like this, and a lot of these people might think that they know the truth, and I think the LFO band, it would be interesting if you took the guy who died in 2010 and turned him, made out that he's like changed all his parents' names or whatever, changed his whole profile and background, and make out that he actually was from an extremely wealthy family. Find a family that has like a history or has a group of people believing that they're from like some sort of paedophile ring. Or maybe even choose a paedophile ring, but it needs to be someone who's rich, a rich family who have either received a huge amount of false allegations or perhaps even real allegations. I'm not saying that they're, I don't know. I don't know the truth from the lies, and I know you might not know this, but yeah, that would be an idea that I've had, to try and lie about his parents, lie about his life, and just see who believes it. Because if these people who are all accusing these groups of child sex trafficking and stuff, if you have like a couple of angels, a couple of public figures who have a completely false background, but the false background is things like, they have houses all over the world, they're from these great paedophile rings, and they've had associations with Diddy. If people think that what's going on with Diddy is bad, and I don't know what's going on, but I know that there are worse stories. I think child sex rings is one of them, and I know Diddy the allegations are going in that direction, but I don't think it's believable at all. But with this, if you have someone who died 14 years ago, there's more mystery behind it. There's more mystery, and therefore it would be easier to make the stories darker or the rumours darker, and then just see who comes forward and says, oh yeah, I remember that from when I was 6 years old. Because there's a ton of people as well who love to make allegations about, oh, when I was 4 this happened, and when I was 6 this happened, and then every day of my life, but between the ages of 4 and 12 I've had sex with about 1,000 different people. You know, are these liars or not? I don't know. I mean, it sounds like they're liars to me. I'm not saying that they all are. I'm definitely not. But if these same people start like being like, oh, I recognise that guy. Yeah, I recognised him. Yeah, he told me he was in a band, but I didn't know which one. You know, if they start making up these stories, then you know that they're a liar. They're someone that's just fabricating. You know, it's very easy to take false memories and place them in people. And if the CIA, or I think it's the CIA that does things like this rather than the FBI. FBI is more about crimes. CIA is more about experiments. I've heard of experiments, but if you want to do experiments on the public, you know, create a false persona with these ones. I do actually believe that both he and the one that died in 2008 are actually alive somewhere. I think one of them, I keep getting an image. I don't actually get an image. I just hear six to eight on the older one, and the other one I keep getting an image of a baby. I have no idea what sex it is. I guess there was a potential it could be Jessie J, but I'm not saying that this is. I feel I see a baby with brown hair, and I think that's the guy who died in 2018. But yeah, I can't really tell you much more. Jessie J is the angel of strength, so it could just be saying, this vision that I see could just be saying that this baby is with a parent that is strong. So I feel like I just wanted to say that. So if you are making allegations, I feel like you're not actually making allegations about dead people, because I think both of them are alive and happy, and one's a young child and one's a baby. So yeah, but I think the one that died in 2023, I think he's still on pause mode. But yeah, they'll be fine. There's people having kids all the time. They'll be fine. But you know, I think to detect the liars, set these people up set all 4 of them up with false profiles. And if you want to give more fame to the band, you could even get the one that's still alive to behave, perhaps try and hide or know that what's going on, know the story. I think he needs to know what the plan is and why, because he wants to know why his bandmates have all died when that's not happened with others, and because there's so many bands that are all angels and all seem to link to me. You know, he's probably wondering like why is his band gone in a completely different direction, and this is what I would say to him. I think that it's supposed to be a setup. That Katy Perry song, Starstruck, that definitely looks like 2 of the guys that died, and I feel like it's just a sign saying that God wants you to set this up. If the parents know, or if they're still alive, or if the family, I don't know, but the truth will be known by the smart ones, and the ones that want to lie. I think it would be if you did just set it up, and because there's a lot of people that chase after these sort of paedophile rings, and well, if they are able to believe that these guys are also born into paedophile rings and like ringmasters or whatever, you know, then it will show them when the truth is revealed that they are actually just people that are shit stirrers, and they're just seeking whatever they want to find, and it will teach them a lesson for believing this. So I think it's a very good idea that you do that kind of test on them, but yeah, make them seem like they're from wealthy families, or make them seem a lot richer, and change everything about what you know, and just see who is able to believe. I know Elon kind of did that with, I feel like that's what he did with the book. Like I'm not convinced that he has 11 kids. I think he's got 1 with Grimes and 5 with the first wife, and maybe he's been a surrogate to someone else. That's very likely. It's very likely to be easy to be a surrogate, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's got 3 with Grimes, and I haven't seen enough evidence for that. But are people looking for that? I don't feel like people are looking for any evidence of this. Or maybe I'm not looking for any evidence of this. I'm not too sure. I haven't actually looked. I haven't looked to see if there actually are any images of Grimes with 3 kids. Yeah. Anyway, I also have just watched a video where Trump is talking about bringing Bibles back into schools. You know, I was definitely very against this a long time ago, because I think it's a very dangerous, harmful book. But now that, ever since 2020, ever since 2019, summer of 2019, that's when I started realizing that that obviously I'm here to have a really shitty life so that I would reduce the population massively. And ever since I started believing that, I've had a different perspective on things. And yeah, if people want, I've seen loads and loads of pictures on Facebook where people are saying, you know, yeah, bring back God in schools and bring back the Bible, and they're all in favor, and how, you know, how dare they take them out of schools in the first place, you know. That's almost the vibe of it. And I get a strong feeling that these people are only saying this because they themselves want to die, and if they have kids, they don't want to leave their kids behind, and they want the right to take their kids with them. And I just feel like people who support the idea of Bibles being in their schools so that their kids can you know, read the Bible and be more closer to God or something, I feel like it's just subconsciously their desire, and their soul and their spirit is saying that when I die, I want to take my kids with me. And therefore, if they are promoting Bibles in schools, I feel like it's to deceive the children as well. You know, no one wants to die, and I don't like murder, but if people are dying because they've read the Bible and they say, you know, when the Babylon the Great comes, you know, there's going to be war, a lot of saints are going to die, but Jesus is going to come back, and you'll see them in the clouds. And if they just add in the fact that you actually just need to kill yourself to see Jesus in the clouds, but you can only do it at a specific time, you know, when this Babylon the Great shows up and the world is in chaos, you know, if they've read the Bible, they're going to be far more like believing of this story, and they're going to do what it takes to get away from the evil world and off to the better world. So I think having a Bible or allowing Bibles to be in school is kind of like the kiss of death, what Judah did to Jesus, you know. I'm going to kiss you, and this is the person that needs to die. And likewise, if you have Bibles in your school, doesn't mean that every kid in the school is going to die, no, but I feel like it's just a warning sign that some of these kids will need to go. So if there are parents that are adamant that they do not want a Bible in their school and they're fighting for it, I feel like that's actually just their spirit saying, don't you dare touch my kids, and don't you touch the kids of anyone in this school. You know, we are all fighting, we are all fighting for life, we're not fighting for death. But if you're fighting to have Bibles in school, I feel like it's a spiritual message that actually you're fighting to be allowed to go in the rapture and go to heaven, and that is what the spiritual battle over whether Bible should be in school or not. If you don't have kids and you want them to be in school, well, I feel like that's just your sign of saying, I don't mind letting these kids go into heaven, and this is my subtle kiss to them. You know, you want a Bible in your school? Okay, there we go. I'm Judah, and I'm now kind of like kissing you in a way. So I'm thinking of making a page about that actually, because I do strongly feel that way, and it kind of makes me feel sick actually, looking at all the posts where people are posting about how amazing and great it is that Bibles are going to come back to school and how it needs to happen, and it kind of just makes me feel sick, because I'm thinking about what's actually in the Bible. I'm just like, this is sick. This is like the guy who said that, oh, why are you letting your kids watch SpongeBob, when he himself was actually on the streets as a kid learning how to use guns and kind of shoot people and kill people, and yet he comes to America to get away from all this gang stuff, and what he's going to criticize people who let their kids watch SpongeBob when his parents let him get involved in gangs and stuff, you know. And so, you know, people who support the idea of Bibles going to kids, it does make me feel sick, but I feel like it makes me feel sick because they are sick for not seeing the truth. But I feel like they're not seeing the truth, and they're spiritually blind because they want to go in the rapture and they want to have the right to take their kids away. And I also feel another topic I should talk about is this report of people in the UK government saying, being undecided on whether terminally ill people should be allowed to terminate their life. And this is in the 6 months. So if you've given it a 6-month diagnosis that you're going to be dead in the next 6 months, you are not. There are people that say you should not be allowed to end your life. I feel sick at that. I really feel sick at the thought. So what? You're working in the government. You're trying to help people, and you're trying to help create good rules, and yet you think it's fine to to tell someone who's been diagnosed as having a terminal illness and they're going to definitely be dead in 6 months, and they don't know how long it's going to last, they don't know how painful it's going to be, if they're going to start losing their hair, if they're going to, I feel like it's completely inconsiderate, extremely inconsiderate to everyone who has gone through suffering in the last 6 months of their life whilst knowing they have a terminal illness. I think that's a horrible, horrible thing to have. They say, all right, you've only got 6 months left to live. Wow, that is shocking. It's fear. It's like you're on death row. And then to think that there are people in the government that just say, I don't give a shit. If you're on death row, you need to stay there until God kills you. I hate these people and I want to vomit all over them. And therefore, if I was to reduce the number of people in the government, anyone that would think that it is fine to say that someone who's been diagnosed terminally ill to die in the next 6 months, does not have the right or that does not have the ability to be able to decide whether or not they should live, now, or when they should die, how they should die, they don't have the right to do. I think it's a sickening thing, and anyone that would do that to someone, they're showing their inability to understand how they feel. I've seen my granddad when he was in this last weeks of life, and he was locked up. He couldn't turn over. He didn't remember me. He didn't remember Mum. He mildly remembered my dad, maybe. That's his son. But yeah, I was just feeling sick. Like, oh my God, why are they just letting him live like this? He's obviously gone. He doesn't have much memory or life, and you're just going to let him suffer every day. And then to think that there's stupid morons that have absolutely no clue what these people are going through, just going into courts and thinking that they can have the right to say, we're going to not allow them to make a decision for their own. This is dictatorship. Anyone that would be in the government and say, I'm against the idea of allowing terminally ill people to choose how they want to die, even if they've only got 6 months left. I would say that terminally ill, even if you've been diagnosed terminally ill and you might have up to 2 years, if someone's given you a 2-year terminally ill sentence, I think that should qualify enough to have assisted suicide. But to think that even if you've only got 6 months left and maybe you are going through pain or suffering, to think that you have the right to go into government and think that I have the right to ban these people from having an assisted suicide, I just think that's disgusting. And I feel actually more disgusted over those people than I do people who think that it's fine to put a Bible in a school. A lot of kids can't even read in America, so putting a Bible or a very complicated book that's basically just a book of riddles in a Bible is mildly harmless. But telling someone who's terminally ill, who's dying and suffering and just going to go through a very long process of or a very short process of dying, actually 6 months is long, but it's not really, and to think that you have the right to deny their right to want to have assisted suicide, I think that's far sicker than putting Bibles in school. But that is my opinions.